Have you ever noticed that when you and your partner are having this beautiful, connected moment, suddenly someone just ruins it? Or even before it happens, in anticipation of this connection, one of you just ends up derailing it. You're cuddling on the couch, you're laughing together, you're driving away for a weekend getaway, and suddenly someone gets stuck on their phone or starts bringing up chores, or maybe gets into an argument over something insignificant. And it may seem irrational. After all, you both are getting what you wanted, the closeness you were seeking. So why would your brain suddenly want to push it away? Here's what's fascinating. Our attachment system isn't just meant to seek connection and proximity to our caregivers. It's also constantly regulating the closeness, the proximity to our caregivers. In attachment psychology, we can understand this behavior as distance regulation. Most people think that relationship difficulties and struggles come from poor communication or general incompatibility. And sometimes that can be true, but often couples are engaged in this struggle for proximity and distance and trying to regulate. Today, I'll show you what distance regulators are and that nearly everybody uses them in one way or another, and why recognizing them can completely change the way you experience intimacy. Imagine your nervous system has an internal thermostat whose sole task is to regulate closeness and intimacy. Every one of us has a certain level of physical and emotional closeness that feels comfortable. And when a relationship feels too distant, our attachment system tells us to move closer. But here's something people rarely talk about, and that relationship can often become too close, too intimate, and that our nervous system can actually tell us to move further away. Deep vulnerability, sustained affection, feeling deeply seen and known, depending on someone. If your early relationships led you to internalize that closeness, led to criticism or rejection or having your caregiver shut down, you may experience that as an adult where intimacy feels unsafe. And all of this happens unconsciously. So you may start looking at your phone or walking out of the room, all in order to cool down the nervous system. Or it may actually lean the other way where you start a conflict or create difficulties and problems in order to elicit engagement and a greater response. These are all automatic attempts to regulate the underlying anxiety and distress. That's what I really mean by distance regulators. A distance regulator is any behavior that creates distance when you start to feel uncomfortable with closeness, even if you want the intimacy and connection. Here's why these patterns become so painful. One person may want closeness in order to feel safe and regulate, and in turn that could activate the other person where they now want distance and space. One partner unconsciously starts pulling away. The other immediately feels rejected. They start to move closer to seek reassurance. Now, the first partner starts to feel overwhelmed and they pull away even more. Notice what's happening? Neither person is trying to hurt the other. We have two people trying to regulate their anxiety and distress. Unfortunately, the first person's attempt to regulate ends up triggering the second, and the second person's attempt to regulate and manage the distance triggers the first person. Each person's solution to resolving their anxiety becomes the other person's trigger. You can imagine a scenario where somebody just had a long, exhausting day at work. They come home, they see their partner on the couch, and they want to be close, so they sit right next to them, maybe even are being physically close and affectionate. And then suddenly the second person starts to pull away. Maybe they look at their phone, or they decide to do the laundry or work on a house project. Nothing was wrong initially. The nervous system unconsciously made the call that the intimacy was feeling a bit too much and it was time to get out of there. The second example is really about the anxious, preoccupied, reassurance-seeking behavior. Imagine you've had a great day with your friend or partner, maybe you're close, physically affectionate, the day's coming to a close. And then suddenly you hear from the other person Do you still care about me? And at no point during the day did you ever feel like anything at all went wrong. So the question catches you off guard. The gears spin up. You're trying to figure out, did I do something wrong? Why am I getting this question? And the reassurance seeking behavior can temporarily relieve anxiety. So you may want to hear, yes, of course I still care about you. But what can happen over time is if there's enough such instances where seemingly everything's good or even great, but these kind of remarks start coming out of nowhere seemingly, the other partner may start to interpret this as a kind of pressure or criticism or even feeling pushed in some way. Again, the same pattern plays out. One person's attempt to regulate, to lower their anxiety, actually unintentionally activates the other person. Secure people also need space. What's different is that they actually regulate that distance more consciously in a more collaborative way. Instead of simply walking away or disappearing, they may consciously communicate that they need some space. So for example, they might say something like, I love spending time with you and I'm feeling mentally drained. I need some space. Let's make dinner in an hour or so after I recharge. So you can see it's the same underlying need, and there's this really gentle handoff. You have the limits, so it's going to be a certain amount of time, a certain amount of space. And underneath it is everybody needs some distance, some closeness. So you really have to start by acknowledging that this may be some way that you regulate, or that there's some kind of need there for space to modulate the intensity of the intimacy in the relationship. So if you want to play around with this in real time, you can start to notice those transition moments, bringing some awareness to it. So for example, when you're reaching for your phone or starting to get up, have the urge to move further away from your partner or close person, and just see what that's feeling like. Do you feel irritated? Do you feel like maybe the intensity is too much? And you really want to just track the bodily sensations. One of the things you might find by engaging in this kind of brief pause and introspection is you really have a fork in the road. There's a choice now. So you may tune in and you may feel like, oh, do I need space or do I need closeness? And then based on that, you can more consciously and collaboratively work with the other person. So if you decide that, I actually do need space, you could actually share that with your partner, your friend, and say, I do want to spend time with you and be with you just later. I need about 20-30 minutes to recharge. I was in the middle of something and I'll come right back and we'll do the next thing together. Or you may even find yourself as the reassurance seeking, the proximity seeking partner, and you're starting to feel anxious, and you may notice yourself that what you want to say is something like, things have been going well. I've been actually feeling good and wanting more closeness. And I'm worried that if I lean in, it might push you away, something like that. And if you notice as the party receiving this message that, that actually is anxiety provoking to see your partner, your close person wanting space, you can actually work with that too and just share that I'm really loving the connection we have here. Things are going well. And I just need some reassurance that we're still okay. One of the things that people have a misconception about in secure or close relationships is that they're always happy, they're always close, just having the best time of their life, and they're, very affectionate with each other. And that may be true some of the time, maybe even more so for more distressed couples. But there's certainly times when they do need space and they are apart, and things are still okay in the relationship. So you can think of healthy, secure, functioning relationships as just a very natural dance where you can move closer together, further apart, and then come back. And then all the while, you're staying in the bounds. So the felt sense in the secure relationships is that even when distance is created or asked for, you still feel okay and settled, and it's negotiated. There's a sense of collaboration and goodwill. It's like a really smooth transition in and out. So next time you catch yourself wanting to escalate or pick a fight right before a date night or a weekend getaway, or you suddenly become distracted and busy during a tender moment, or pull away and reach for your phone when your partner is asking for closeness and connection, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I actually upset? Or is my nervous system, my body mind, trying to regulate the distance? Now, one simple inquiry can really change the way the rest of the interaction goes. And if you're interested in learning more about attachment healing, emotional regulation, and secure relationship, be sure to subscribe. And you can check out my work at Mindful Attachment Coaching. Every week, I share evidence-based tools to help you create more secure, functioning, connected relationships. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.